trust my gut. Hello and welcome to Gutted. I am Elise.
And I'm Tony, and we're here to spill our guts about horror films.
We are. And we are continuing with the films that were our first horror films.
That's right.
Last week we discussed my first horror film.
Leprechaun. It's a good one. Had a lot of fun with that.
It was fun. I like Leprechaun.
So lovable.
He is. And this week, another lovable movie. It's Tony's first film.
Yep.
First horror film.
That's right. We were going to be talking about 1988's Child's Play, written by Don Mancini, John LaFia, and Tom Holland, and directed by Tom Holland.
This will be a Spill Your Guts episode where we will recap the entire film and then explore some of the film's elements more deeply, spilling all of our feelings, thoughts, and guts in the process. And before we do, we should warn you that there will be spoilers. So listen at your own risk.
All right. Should we get started?
Let's get started.
All right. We open in a dark and cold alleyway. Cold fog pulses from the mouths of the criminal and detective in a desperate chase. The score is tense, akin to a good action flick. Guns ablaze, our detective cries out, "I've got the Strangler! Wabash and Van Buren!" The backup squad car fires up the siren and speeds into action. Our Strangler, Charles Lee Ray, played by Brad Dourif, and Detective Mike Norris, played by Chris Sarandon, trade shots as they weave through the alley and streets. The Strangler sees his getaway and dives over a parked car, fires a few rounds, and then makes his move, only to be tagged in the back by the detective's bullet. Things aren't looking great for this criminal, especially as his getaway man speeds off, leaving a hobbled Charles Lee Ray desperately pleading, Eddie, don't leave me!" with such emotion that one honestly feels sorry for the guy. "Give it up, Ray, it's over," Detective Norris yells out. But this criminal sees no chance of turning himself in. "Why, maybe I can hide in this toy store. I'll just blend in amongst the toy cars, an enormous display of good guy dolls stacked as high as if this place were ramping up for Black Friday sales." It works! Detective Norris sees that there are way too many toys to sniff out a killer. Ray sneaks through some displays with Norris in his sights. Takes his shot, a narrow miss. Norris counters. Ray is hit and falls to the floor. This is surely over, thinks Norris. Ray is woozy as he has the realization. "Oh God, I'm dying." What better time to vow revenge? He cries out in a furious rage. "I'm gonna get you for this, no matter what." Ray staggers and stumbles, muttering to himself and cluing us in on his final play. "I gotta find some body?" He collapses, grabbing hold of a good guy box, making quite a mess of the neatly stacked dolls. With lovable freckled, coiffed red hair and electric blue eyes, a good guy stares at Ray face to face in his moment of demise. Wait, what if... Of course, the doll! Let the ominous and thunder-summoning evil chant begin. "Give me the power, I beg of you!" Blood-soaked but not dead yet, Ray is all in on the soul transfer into the sweet little good guy. Because it's better than being a dead guy, right? The storm is raging now, and Ray is just about to hit his 1.21 gigawatts of lightning juice to get inside this plastic vessel. Norris gets the feeling that this shit just took a turn for the worse. With a final bellowing cry, a powerful force blasts through the skylight, taking out everything in its wake with a tremendous explosion. What a mess. A shell-shocked Norris tramples over the wreckage and finds his man dead. But we all know what's up as we see a good guy doll innocently smiling at the carnage. Cut to an apartment. It's the birthday morning of 6-year-old Andy, played by Alex Vincent. Dressed in good guy garb, he gleefully and haphazardly prepares breakfast for his still slumbering mom, Karen Barclay, played by Catherine Hicks. What's on the menu? Deep charred toast with a heaping scoop of margarine. And good guy cereal with extra sugar, just how mom likes it. This is going to be the best birthday ever. Andy has the feeling he's finally going to get that good guy doll he's been wishing for. He sees a good guy commercial on TV. It's too cool. He talks and turns his head too. That's not at all creepy. Breakfast is ready, and Andy leaves a trail of milk over to Mom's bed, where he jumps on her with puppy-like vigor. How much good guy cereal has this kid had? It's 6:30 in the morning. But it's not the sugar that has Andy amped, it's the presents. He spots the one box shaped like it might have a little best friend inside. Nope, just a pair of dumb jeans. Ugh. Things haven't been the same since Daddy died and Mom is working at the department store all the time. Oh well, another disappointing birthday. Andy gets frank with Mom. I want a good guy doll. Mom already knew this, but she's a single mom with bills to pay. Later, while at work, Karen gets the tip from her best friend Maggie that there's some guy in the back alley slanging good guys. Perfect. She abandons her post at the department store to meet the vagrant with less than ideal dental hygiene and scores the doll at a major discount. Ecstatic by their not shady at all purchase, she returns to her post only to be scolded by her unsympathetic and sniveling store manager, who pressures her to work late on her boy's birthday as punishment. Karen relents as Maggie offers to hang with Andy on his special day. Mom's got just enough time to pick Andy up and drop him off at home before scuttling back to work. However, Mom offers up one more present, proudly proclaiming to Andy, "This isn't groceries." Andy's face lights up. A good guy doll! Demonstrating how it works to Mom, Andy enthusiastically screams in the doll's face. Hi, I'm Andy! What's your name? Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm gonna be your friend to the end. Heidi ho, ha ha ha. Mom loves it. This is wonderful. Maybe Chucky can babysit from now on. Way to buy your kids love. Later, Aunt Maggie eats cake as Andy teaches Chucky how to use a realistic toy hammer. The nightly news is covering the big story Eddie Caputo, accomplice to Charles Lee Ray, has escaped custody. Chucky swivels his head over to watch, but Aunt Maggie says it's time for bed. Sorry, Aunt Maggie. Chucky wants to watch the news. Babysitter's not falling for that old trick as she yanks Chucky by one arm and puts him and Andy to bed. Moments later, she hears the news blare in the background. Andy is brushing his teeth, right? Is he sneaking Chucky out in front of the TV as a tactic to stay up late? That little shit. She scolds Andy. But Aunt Maggie, I didn't put Chucky in front of the TV. Chucky did it. Oh, great. This little kid is obsessed, defiant, and Aunt Maggie needs another slice of that chocolate cake. Go to bed, Andy. See, Chucky, I told you she'd be mad. Man, that Aunt Maggie is a real bitch. Andy kisses his new best friend. He goes to bed as Chucky plots with his vacant yet piercing blue eyes. Finally, some peace and quiet. Maggie settles in with a book. We get the POV of something small scurrying about the apartment. I thought I told Andy to go to bed. Maybe being alone late at night is giving Maggie the jumps. She cautiously investigates, only to find a container of flour knocked over. There aren't any raccoons on the 10th floor, are there? The phone rings, startling Maggie. It's Karen checking in. All good here, although she secretly swears there's something lurking. Shortly after hanging up, she turns around and wham! Tiny toy hammer to the head. She flails and takes at least 10 steps backwards before crashing through the window and plummeting to her demise. Karen returns home on the bus to find the roped off crime scene and rushes to make sure Andy is okay. There's a slew of cops in her apartment. Karen is thinking the worst. Mommy, Aunt Maggie had an accident. Detective Mike Norris is on the scene and delivers the news that her best friend is dead. Terrifying but keeping it together, she gets the next blow. Hey lady, is your kid capable of murder? There are tiny footprints in the flour on the counter. Case solved. Mommy, Chucky wants to know what's going on. Andy, go to bed. Sorry you've had such a shitty birthday. At least you have Chucky. Now get to bed before you get booked, kid. Andy once again tries for bed and notices that Chucky has white residue on his little shoes. Detective, I know who did it. It was Chucky. Andy, go to bed. Cops clear out and Mom hears Andy talking to someone in his bedroom. This can't be happening. There's no way I can afford therapy on my salary. Mom needs to speak some sense into this kid. Chucky, huh? What does he say to you? Chucky's real name is Charles Lee Ray, and he's been sent down from heaven by Daddy to come play with me. He also told me that Aunt Maggie was a real bitch and got what she deserved. Mom is now regretting that back alley transaction and pleads with Andy that Chucky is not alive. But he is, Mommy! Andy shoots back. He quickly changes his tune after seeing Mom's distraught face. I'm sorry, Mommy. I'll stop making up stories, says Andy with a subtle wink to Chucky. The following day, Andy, still with a vice grip on his new best buddy, decides he'll ditch school as soon as Mom rounds the corner. He hops on a Chicago train with his mini chaperone and gets off on the rough side of town, where trash fire and derelict buildings are aplenty. Is that Eddie's place? All right, let's go. Andy goes off for a tinkle and Chucky springs into vengeful action. He can't wait to give that double-crossing Eddie Caputo what's coming for him. Holed up and paranoid, Eddie lies asleep with a 44 Magnum by his side. But what's that sound? Why, it's only Chucky getting the gas oven cranked up. It's cold in Chicago. Eddie ain't messing around with his shoot first, ask questions later attitude. He hears something in the kitchen and, surprise, the gunshot ignites the ramshackle house with the force of 100 sticks of dynamite. Later, Karen pays visit to the station only to find Andy being interrogated by the cops. He skips school and is wreaking havoc around Chicago. I swear it was Chucky. Why won't anyone believe me? Andy is finally done with this so-called friend. Mommy, he told me never to tell anyone or else he'd kill me. Tell it to the judge, kid. Maybe a little time in the loony bin will set you straight. With Andy locked up, Karen heads home with that ugly doll. Nothing is adding up. Is my kid a sociopath? Maybe I'm a bad mom. Are dolls alive? She picks up the box, lamenting her recent decisions. 2 D-sized batteries fall out. What? No. How could it? She nervously picks up Chucky, undoes the back of his overalls to find that there are no batteries installed. Hi, I'm Chucky. Want to play? She screams and drops Chucky to the floor, and he smooth rolls under the couch. She's still not convinced. There's no way this doll could be alive. She grabs Chucky and shakes it. Talk to me, damn it! I'll make you talk to me or I'll throw you in the fire! Chucky flails to life, screaming violent obscenities, and he bites Karen on the arm, escaping a fiery doom. Karen goes after him, but alas, he has escaped. She rushes to find Detective Norris. It's true, Chucky's alive. Look, he bit me. Lady, you are irrational. I am a man of logical mind, and you are a delusional woman. But I kind of like ya. Ugh, Karen can't rely on anyone these days. She decides to take matters into her own hands. She's going to find that foul-toothed peddler over on the bad side of town. Norris knows that this can't lead anywhere good and decides to follow. Karen arrives on the bad side of town, miming bad teeth, and pushes cart to the locals to find her guy. Somehow this works. Cold and desperate, she attempts to pay the degenerate peddler $3 for info. That's not enough, lady. What else you got? She quickly realizes she's in a predicament and is nearly assaulted. But Norris to the rescue. He aids in the interrogation and they learn that Chucky came from the burned out toy store on Wabash. Norris can't believe it. Is the delusional woman right about the doll? That is where I killed Charles Lee Ray. Karen has put it all together now. Norris still sticking with the sane and rational bit. Before heading home, Norris pulls the file on Charles Lee Ray. You know, detective work. Little does he know he's got the little killer in his back seat the whole time. Chucky waits for his moment, jumps out and strangles Norris with some jumper cables. A struggle ensues. Instead of hitting the brakes, Norris hits the accelerator for about 10 more blocks. After narrowly escaping a few knives to the groin and rolling his car, he's finally able to see the little monstrosity for himself. Chucky toys with the detective trapped in the wrecked car only to get blasted once again by Norris. Chucky can feel pain and bleed? So much for immortality. Meanwhile, a determined Karen heads to Charles Lee Ray's place and finds some elaborate self-portrait murder murals and that Ray is into some weird voodoo shit. She is confronted by Norris, who is finally on board with the whole Chucky is real idea. He has the deets on the voodoo man and they rush over. But Chucky gets there first. After questioning John the voodoo mentor, he learns that he is becoming human, hence the bleeding. John disavows Chucky, calling him an abomination, and tries to call the cops because the cops will stop this evil doll. Chucky doesn't like it. He needs to get his soul out of this damn doll. He uses the old voodoo doll trick to snap all of John's bones and get the info he needs. He has to transfer his soul into the first person he revealed his true self to, Andy. Chucky gets to be 6 years old again. Sorry, John. Chucky no longer needs you, and with the voodoo dagger, he stabs Mini John, thus killing Big John. Karen and Norton get to John's place just in time for the voodoo mentor's last words. You must save the boy. But how do we kill the doll? Through the heart. Meanwhile, Chucky rushes to the mental hospital to get that little 6-year-old soul. Andy sees his ex-BFF ambling up the stairs and with an all too realistic tears cries out, Chucky's coming to kill me. Soon, Chucky unlocks little friend's door, and I guess Andy's given up now because he's taking a nap. Chucky pulls back the covers to stab the little lump in the bed, but what's this? The old pillow trick! And like that, Andy is free. Well, for at least 10 seconds until a syringe welding doc catches him and prepares to pump him full of night-night juice. Andy can't catch a break, but Chucky saves the day and offs the doctor, giving Andy enough time to run home. Back at home, Andy decides his days of being a victim are over. While he gears up with a mini bat, Chucky slinks down the chimney, bearing not toys, but a dagger. The two come head to head. Andy loses his bat and it's back to being a victim. Seconds later, he's knocked unconscious by his own weapon. Now it's Chucky's chance. He summons some nasty storm clouds, and when he's just about to complete the soul transference, Norris and Mom arrive and knock the pint-sized psycho aside. In the end, it's 2.5 humans against the Chuck, as he's thrown, shot, and finally burned. This is the end, friend, Andy says with cocky absolution. But wait, there's more! The still smoking villain is then shot, decapitated, shot again, and again, and again, and now he's dead. Enter Mike's useless partner, just in time to miss all the fun. But what happened here? The doll's alive, shouts Norris. Who's irrational now? Partner Cop is warned not to touch any of the burnt doll parts in the hallway. Of course he does. And Torso Chucky, under maniacal command of Head Chucky, goes for one last strangle. Partner Cop finally frees himself as Norris gets to deliver the kill shot through the heart. And now Chucky's dead. Believe me now? Asks Norris. Yes, says Partner Cop. But who's going to believe me? Well, Partner Cop, likely anyone who gets to survive the next 6 sequels.
I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Yay! Excellent synopsis, recap of that film. I have to say, I actually had not seen this movie all the way through until recently.
And for me, I saw it when I was, I think, 5. I didn't watch it by chance. I was shown it by older cousins, the older cousins that are trying
We
to
like to talk about those older cousins.
scare the crap out of
My
you all
older
the time.
cousins didn't try to scare me. They were just trying to oh, look at this cool stuff.
But I don't think I sat down and watched the entire movie. And then years later I did, but it's been years since I've seen the entirety, sat down and watched. And I would say that the film still holds up and it's still terrifying.
It is. Well, I mean, I guess now that I saw Leprechaun and Chucky back to back, if I had
it's
seen
funny because
Chucky when I was that young, I don't think I would have ever watched a scary movie ever again.
it was definitely traumatizing, but it's funny because you have these 2 horror movies that one is, but they're both kind of around the theme of kids or young
You
people
would
or
imagine
small
that they would be
people.
very similar because, yeah,
And Leprechaun is one that is, I mean, it came after Child's Play, and I see that it was influenced by Child's Play in a few ways. But it's definitely a movie that can appeal to kids or to adults, whereas Child's Play is not a movie
not
for kids.
No.
Yet somehow so many kids have seen this movie and have been absolutely traumatized by it.
Yeah. I remember I had not seen the movie and I knew about the movie. Everybody knew about the movie.
Everybody knew about the movie, whether you're in the video store and just saw the cover or you heard someone talking about it.
I really wanted to see the horror movies in the horror section of Blockbuster, but I was afraid. I avoided the C's because I was afraid to see Child's Play. I didn't want to see that little face. I think it was Child's Play 2. That
Yeah,
cover scared me the most,
yeah,
where
I
he
remember
has
we
like
were
the
talking about
giant
that.
scissors chopping off the Jack in the
Chopping,
Box
yeah.
head.
And I actually I did see Child's Play 2 not too long after, while I was still pretty young. I don't know if I saw it like right when it came out, but I really like it, and it's one that I need to revisit again because I remember thoroughly enjoying it. I still remember all the scenes after many, many years of haven't seen it.
I don't think I've seen the second one, but now I can with this wonderful Blu-ray box set that we got.
That we're in no way promoting. I just
We're
think
not
the
promoting.
box is cool
It
because it's
does look
got this
really
sort of
cool.
holographic Chucky and the good guy box.
Yeah, which I didn't realize that this was the good guy box until I watched the first one about 4 times this past week. So
Well, I was
that's so
also
clever.
I remember around the time when Chucky came out, there were these My Buddy dolls, and after seeing the movie and just hearing Don Mancini talking about the movie in his script, he says his script predated the Good Guy dolls,
His
but you
script
still you
did.
can't help but notice the similarities of the sort of life-size best
Yeah.
friend doll, and they look pretty
Well,
similar.
his original scripts, there were 3 script writers for Child's Play, and Don Mancini's original script, I think, did come out before the My Buddy doll, which came out in like 86 or something.
The My
But
Buddy doll.
the My Buddy doll,
I
yeah.
can't remember exactly when it came out, but I
But
do remember it
this
being around as a
movie,
kid, and I
the
remember the
movie,
commercial for sure.
yeah, the movie came out though after My Buddy dolls had been made already.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people were maybe trying to relate those two as coincidental, but I also think about the cartoon Rugrats, where the character Chucky in Rugrats
Yeah,
has red hair and kind of
very,
has the overalls, and I
yeah.
wonder if that was because of how big of a phenomenon
I wonder if
Chucky
maybe they
was.
were trying to demystify or dehorrify the Chucky
I'll have to look
and
into
make
that. I
it
wish I had looked into
cuter.
that before, because I always thought that. Because I love Rugrats and I watched it as a kid, and I always thought like the Chucky and Rugrats seems awful lot like
Well, no, not his
Scary Chucky, the one
personality. I
that
mean, just
terrorized my dreams.
his physical red hair looked like Chucky, but
Yeah, maybe that's the only. Well, no, the personality,
his
no.
personality, he was kind of like, nasally and weak-willed and just kind of did what Tommy did. And
Yeah,
I feel like maybe in that sense they're trying to tell kids, hey, don't be afraid of the name Chucky.
I think maybe after being traumatized by Chucky and having recurring nightmares, that maybe any sort of small thing with red hair
Name
or
Chucky.
anything named Chucky is just scary to me
Well,
now.
I remember watching the commentary with Don Mancini, and he was saying that the name Chucky almost has like an onomatopoeia quality to it, how it just sounds like something
Sounds like something violent.
yeah, he said it sounds like a knife being plunged into a pumpkin.
Well, the doll in the commercial in the movie, his name is Oscar, right? That doesn't sound nearly as frightening.
What?
Yeah.
What movie? Huh?
Sorry, in the commercial in the movie, when Andy's making breakfast for his mom,
Oh, right.
a commercial comes on the screen and promoting the new Chucky
Oscar.
doll. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that good guy doll is named Oscar.
Okay.
Yeah.
God, yeah, it doesn't
And I'm
sound.
just saying that doesn't sound nearly
No, it
as.
sounds very, unassuming. Oscar.
Yeah.
Nice
Could you imagine?
guy.
Hi, I'm Oscar. I'm gonna be your
Yeah.
friend at the end. Like,
Hi.
okay, whatever, Oscar. We're not afraid of you.
Yeah, get out of here, Oscar. Jeez. I want to talk about the kid toy frenzy. I know Don Mancini, the original writer, really wanted to kind of hark on.
He was satirizing the toy industry.
The toy industry with Cabbage Patch dolls and.
Well, we grew up with that just like onslaught of toy commercials, and must be different now for kids. I imagine for kids today, it's all about sort of apps and tablets and that sort of stuff. But for our generation, and probably plus or minus 10 years or whatever.
It was these things.
Yeah, it was the onslaught. So you're watching Nickelodeon or you're watching like Saturday morning cartoons, and you're just getting hit with product after product after product.
You're like, Mom, I need that Cabbage Patch doll.
So that's what I was saying. I still remember the My Buddy commercial. I can still like my buddy, wherever he goes. Da, da, da. Well, it's
That's all
not,
I know
yeah.
too.
Well, we still got the tune, so it's like, man, those even the commercials stick and are
just like little earworms
yeah.
stay in your ear. Yeah, I wasn't into My Buddy. I was
Did you
more,
have a doll of some sort that
I think I did have a Cabbage Patch doll, and
those
I
weren't
had
really as scary?
its little birth certificate.
I did love the Garbage Pail series.
I think the Garbage Pail series was maybe a little bit before my time, but my mom had all these cards and I loved them.
We'll have to see another thing. Like, I wish that I had thought of it before, but we'll have to see if the Garbage Pail kids predated Chucky, or because I feel like there is some crossover.
Yeah.
Especially when, well, actually, maybe more crossover in the second Child's Play, where there's some just some imagery that looks just like a Garbage Pail kid. Or actually, I would say Burnt Chucky reminds me of like a Garbage Pail kid character.
Yeah.
Where they're always just kind of
there was a Garbage Pail
gross and
kid card,
grotesque.
like a little sunburnt baby.
The sunburnt baby.
It wasn't
but with the round, the
charred.
big cheeks and the
Yeah, it was a sunburnt baby, but it wasn't like charred baby. It was
Yeah.
scary.
Well, what about the those
Hairy
sort of like
hurlers?
I don't know what they're called, but I was thinking of like the sort of like blinking porcelain dolls.
Oh yeah. I was never afraid of those. I remember sleeping in my grandma's guest bedroom as a child, and she had those blinking porcelain dolls, and just like the very alabaster shiny faces and tiny little rosy red cheeks. And one of them was a clown, and I wasn't afraid of it. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then after that, I liked clowns.
Yeah, but I was going to say you love clowns. Maybe you were just a kid that was slightly off.
Clowns remind me of my grandma.
We'll have to unearth whatever trauma allowed you to have this sort of
because I like
of clowns.
Because I have a non-fear of clowns, I had trauma.
Maybe like going to Disneyland as a young kid and like all of your exposure to like the weird animatronics. Like the Pirates of the Caribbean.
I loved that.
That's kind of scary for a kid.
I wanted to be in that ride. I remember my brother and I would be like, if you could be in any ride at Disneyland, just like spend the night here. I wanted to be.
And how old were you when you first went to Disneyland? Probably
like 4.
So I think you were desensitized to what kids find scary about something like Chucky, which is the fact that it's a toy doll come to life. And
all these other things that should have been scary for me weren't, but Chucky was. I remember I had a recurring dream with Chucky, even though I had never seen it. And I remember it vividly. I was sitting at the kitchen table eating those cranberries that come in a can, and just like you plop it out as like a whole can shape and you slice it. I was eating those. My mom was in the kitchen cooking dinner, and she was playing on her record player this talk radio host woman who had a very deep, lulling voice, and she was very calm, just talking methodically and slowly, and then suddenly her voice gets more panicked, and she starts screaming, and the scream becomes blood-curdling, and then silence. And I remember asking my mom, what was that? She said, oh, that was a woman being murdered by Chucky. And I was like, what?
I mean, you remember that dream in vivid detail.
I had it like 5 or 6 times, many times, that same dream.
My Chucky dreams are always just like, Chucky's gonna get you. And I think that was used by in my family, older cousins, or I probably said it to my younger brothers, like, Chucky's gonna get you.
It's a cycle.
Chucky's gonna get you. And that's all it took. And then you're just like, I can't use the bathroom alone anymore. I like the idea of like the toys in that era being a big part of kids' lives. And I wonder if a lot of it is because of just the change in society, and you had more single moms out there, and you had people like more moms working in the workforce. So
and so you almost need like this babysitter or like surrogate parent to watch over your kid when you have to go to work.
Just leave the kids at home alone with the Chucky doll.
with Chucky.
Perfect babysitter. Hours of fun.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was in Cable Guy or Jim Carrey, the Cable Guy, at
Yeah.
the end decides that he has to kill the babysitter. I always think about that, like, yeah, the TV in that era was the babysitter.
And after all of the mess that the babysitters got in the 70s from all of those slasher movies,
Yeah, you don't want to hire babysitters anymore for their own safety.
there's no more babysitters around.
There's no more.
They're all either dead or terrified of being murdered by some
Or
masked
they got a better job.
villain.
Yeah. So I find it interesting that so Chucky as a horror icon, 33 years later, he's still terrifying. And the name Charles Lee Ray, the main killer, the Lakeshore,
It
the Longshore
sounds
Strangler.
oddly familiar. Do you know where it's from?
I do, because I listened to the commentary.
Oh, okay.
David Kirshner, he always had this fear growing up of these three killers that were very prevalent in the news around the time when he was younger. Charles Manson, Lee Harvey Oswald, and James Earl Ray, and that's where you get Charles Lee Ray. The whole Chucky team in the movie was really amazing to me. So the idea of Chucky, well, I guess the idea of the doll was Don Mancini's idea. But then in the commentary, Don Mancini and David Kirshner, the producer, both kind of say how they were afraid of the Talking Tina episode of the Twilight Zone growing up, this like evil doll that would like, hi, I'm gonna kill you. That's kind of what inspired this evil doll character for the movie. But I think the design was David Kirshner's idea, and then he hired Kevin Yeager, who worked on Nightmare on Elm Street, to do the construction of Chucky. And so he modeled some of the facial features, like the eyes, and as the movie progresses, the hairline, after Brad Dourif, who is the voice of Chucky, and in the beginning, live action Charles Lee Ray. And so he had images, and he had all the audio, the voice audio for Brad Dourif's character, and he would model it after that. And there are really moments where you can see in the eyes of the doll, like, oh wow, it does look like Brad Dourif's eyes, especially in the corners.
I would say you have to be pretty keen to notice the changes because they were subtle. I think that when you watch the movie, that you can tell that there's the good guy doll who has like the kind of deep sky blue eyes and the freckles and looks nice and innocent and all that. And then there's Chucky. When Chucky comes to life, definitely looks more sinister and looks kind of I don't know, haunting and
menacing,
and really like the puppetry and the acting of the doll pre-CGI is really good, actually. I think it holds up, and I think it's still really effective, especially in the scene where he first comes to life when Karen's character finds out that Andy was telling the truth.
Yeah,
that's so startling. And the doll's flailing around, and I think
so hateful, and
and the puppeteers, well, they talk about having these different dolls, and that doll was specifically made for flailing around. It was just kind of on drill motors that just had the arms and the head and the legs moving, and that with Brad Dourif's voiceover on top of it, it just works so well.
There are so many scenes where I'm just so impressed.
It's terrifying. It's startling.
It is terrifying. That is, to me, the most terrifying scene in the movie, when he first reveals himself to Catherine Hicks, or to Karen.
Yeah.
And he just has such hate and frustration that he did not want to reveal to her, but she made him.
Because they kind of they tease it out a little bit with the point of view shots and the sort of Chucky turning his head and staring at the news. But then there's that moment where there's all of this buildup, and it's like, all right, we ain't playing games no more. And all of a sudden, just like, boom, he's a killer
Yeah.
in a
And
little doll.
and the whole movie just like picks up from there. It's like fast paced from that moment on. You don't have a moment to catch your breath. And there are, I think, about like 7 puppeteers working on Chucky's face and
I
arms.
think they said, I think they said there were like 12 puppeteers.
I feel like he said that when I listened to the commentary with Kevin Yeager, the main puppeteer, he said there were about 7 with just the face
okay. Maybe they
and
have
arms.
like the main puppeteers, and then
I
maybe
think
they
they
have
were
some
saying
backup.
they had 12 people with like the dolly.
Okay, so
when
that
there
probably
were, like,
includes the
the
cameraman
puppeteers
and
the
grip.
focus puller and
Right.
like all the people trying to follow Chucky as he was like coming down this like track. So I think they were just kind of really saying how amazingly cramped that space in the apartment became over the course of the few months.
And they're
that
filming
there.
this on a sound stage.
Yeah, in Culver City, California.
Yeah, same place where they did the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And they built the stage up on rafters so that all of the puppeteers can
be
hide under the flooring.
Yeah, but just thinking about the 7 puppeteers for Chucky, I guess they had one guy that had like a jaw
like a jaw helmet.
A jaw helmet that was linked to
but
Chucky's
at the same
mouth.
time he's holding a 4 toggle keyboard, and he's controlling the
mouth movements,
the
lips.
eyebrows.
Somebody else did like the eyes, and someone else was doing like the other eye.
It's crazy, the amount of coordination.
Yeah, he rattled them all off. I'm just like, oh my goodness, they all had to be like the right arm and the left arm were not the same person.
But they sold it. I mean, the performance is actually pretty good, especially that scene where Chucky comes into his
John's
voodoo
window.
John's window.
I love that scene.
He's like, hi
John.
Yeah.
Oh, such good. And Don Mancini, the original writer, was saying that puppeteers have to be they have to be gearheads, and they also have to be actors. And
yeah,
you
I
can
can
really
see
that they have to be able to know how to emote with this doll.
Yeah.
Quite impressive.
Well, and it must be, we've heard the actors over and over saying that there were just too many people on set for that experience to be scary to them. Aside from maybe like some of the puppeteers playing pranks on them, off camera.
Yeah.
But
and you would expect that.
And even the little boy, even Andy,
Alex,
Alex
Vincent.
Alex Vincent, he always sort of states in his interviews that he was never afraid of the doll. And that's actually the most common question that he gets.
I get that all the time, but I think everyone on the set, Kevin Yeager, the lead puppeteer, was trying to really horrify Chucky for him, and he allowed him to control Chucky sometimes. So he always thought Chucky was really cool. The only thing he didn't want to see was the scene where Ed Gale, the person they hired to put on the Chucky costume and mask, had to be on fire at the very end. And that was the only scene that Alex didn't want to watch because he was afraid, because Ed was his friend by that point. He's like, I don't want to see my friend get burned.
Yeah. But he has, Andy also has that really convincing scene where he's in the mental hospital for kids, and Chucky's coming to kill him.
Yeah,
and
you
crying.
Just imagine when you're watching that, when I was watching that for the
he's
first time.
He's really crying. He's not faking that.
Oh my gosh, what do they do to terrify this kid with Chucky?
So I wonder if that's why so many people ask, like, were you afraid
were you
of
really
Chucky?
terrified that he was going to kill you?
You looked like you were
because
traumatized.
Those tears are real. Every time I see that scene, I'm just like, oh, that poor little boy. Somebody hug him.
Oh, man.
Terrible. Doctor just like wrenches his hand off him and runs off.
Yeah, so much good stuff in this movie, though.
Really good.
Man,
it was better than I thought it would be.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just like so glad that I came back and rewatched and actually really kind of got deeper into the film, because you really do appreciate how much of a labor of love this.
Yeah.
And I've heard that before from horror fans that there are these movies or series or franchises that you could really tell it was like their love or something like that, and this is definitely one of them. It definitely shows. Yeah,
and I think Don Mancini was saying how it almost feels like a classy horror movie, and it gets lumped in with some of the more campy slasher or horror movies. And I think later on in the series, it does get a little bit campier, like with Brett and Chucky. It's pretty campy and it's still fun.
Mm-hmm.
But the first one, it just, it almost, it does seem very classy and it takes itself very seriously. And I think that's why.
Well, you've got the urban setting. You've got the sort of detective cat and mouse kind of thing. You
And the
have
camera work,
the
Bill,
POV
oh
shots.
gosh, who's the cameraman? It's I know it, Bill Butler.
He worked on
He was
Jaws.
the cameraman, the cinematographer for Jaws.
Yeah, so a
They
lot
had
of good camera work.
quite a crew and cast. And Chris Sarandon, who played the cop.
But we recognize him from, well, he is in Fright Night.
Yeah.
Which I don't remember as strongly as the remake with what's his name? With
Colin Farrell.
Yeah, with what's his name? With the remake with Colin Farrell. But he's in the original Fright Night, which is also directed by Tom Holland, and
they worked together before, and so I think that's
actually, I won't spoil that movie for anyone who hasn't seen it because I haven't given the spoiler warning.
Yeah.
But his character looks a lot like Negan from The Walking Dead. He has the red scarf and the leather jacket. Yeah, it's a cool character.
But I was going to say that he was just like talking about the caliber of the cast and crew. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for an Oscar for Dog Day Afternoon.
Oh, nice.
And
I was talking about. Oh, go ahead.
Brad Dourif was nominated for Best Supporting Actor
that
same year.
I could see that
for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, so and I didn't realize that was the same person. Yeah,
they're both these Oscar-nominated actors, and they're in this movie, and I think everyone just kind of like really upped the ante for this movie.
Well, I was gonna say, you're noting the sort of Oscar worthiness of these actors, but I was noting like, Chris Sarandon is the guy from Princess Bride. He's the kind of the asshole,
douchey
prince. Yeah, which is such a memorable character.
Yeah. Still kind of charming though, right? I feel like he's not charming. I don't remember.
I mean, charming to himself. I think he's more charming as Detective Mike Norris.
Yeah, he's very charming as Mike Norris.
Yeah, even though
he's a little manhandly at times.
Well, he's kind of like, I think that's isn't that one of the themes that you wanted to discuss? The idea of the sort of totem pole of what did you call it?
Of what did I call it? Discrediting. This like
the totem pole of discredit.
Yeah, so it starts at the bottom. Poor little Andy's at the bottom of this totem pole.
He's the little boy that no one believes. He's making up stories.
We know he's the most credible. He's the most correct in the movie, but because he's a little boy, no one believes him, not even his mom. And we
see that trope over and over in horror movies where it's like, just listen. If you just listen to the little kid's crazy story. Just forget about any sort of like rationale or logic or these.
Just trust your kid for 1 second. This doll might be real.
Yeah.
I mean, has your kid ever called Aunt Maggie a bitch before? Because
the kid's acting out because he just recently lost his dad.
Okay. Yeah. Well then.
And he seems a little spoiled.
Nuh-uh. Have you seen his room? It's all paper decorations.
I was gonna say, like, he has every single good guy accessory except for
he's got PJs. That's it. Like, mom can afford to buy him PJs that happen to be part of the good guy
maybe
line.
Mom front-loaded a lot of those toys, or maybe he had those toys when Dad was still around.
Yeah, Dad just died last year.
An only child, and
Yeah, Dad died last year. Dad probably
so he's used to a certain amount of toys.
Yeah.
And now Mom, that she's all on her own, he's just let down after let down, which is really sad.
Let down after let down. Hello, and thank you for listening to Gutted. Unfortunately, while filming this episode, we accidentally forgot to hit the record button on our microphones. We were just so darn excited about Chucky. The next 30 minutes or so will not sound as good as the rest of the episode. Thank you again for tuning in, and let's get back to it.
What is the totem pole's next layer? We have the kid at the bottom.
Kid's at the bottom, and he is discredited by Mom. And then mom gets hers. Now she's up next on this totem pole of discrediting. Once she gets that bite mark from Chucky, she's like, oh, I get it. Now he is real. I gotta go tell this detective guy, Mike Norris. And she's not even trying to like sugarcoat it. She's like, look, he's real. He bit me. And then of course,
she's all in on the
like,
Chucky's real.
I've got proof. Tiny bite.
Yeah.
And my kid's in prison, so obviously I'm telling the truth. And Mike is at the top of this totem pole because, you know, he is
he's the logical man, the detective.
Logical man, and she's the irrational woman.
Yeah.
And we see this theme a lot in horror movies where the woman is irrational, yet the audience knows she's correct.
Yeah, or just in movies in general, or just in life in general, which is you know, not cool.
Uncool, guys. But then Mike gets his by being discredited by another man. I guess there's no one higher than him on the totem pole. He's getting discredited by another man. Yeah, I like that line in the end, but who's gonna believe me?
Should we talk about some of our favorite scenes in the movie?
I would love to. I mean,
what's your favorite?
We've touched on a couple of these, but my favorite, I think, is that scene where he pops up in the window and goes, hi. I just love the way he says it, and I love the way that the puppeteers coordinate that. Like, he's almost like, by that point, Chucky or Charles Lee Ray is playing into this whole doll body. He's kind of enjoying it.
He's having fun with it.
He's having fun.
Even though he just got shot.
He just got shot. He's like, that hurt.
Oh, man. Hey, I just got shot. And I realized that it hurt.
It hurts, John.
But I'm still loving being this doll.
Okay. A lot of my favorite scenes are very, very minor. But at the very end, when Andy's like, I'm going to take charge. The adults aren't here. I've got my little bat. I'm going to get Chucky now.
Yeah.
And he's like skulking around the hallway. And then he like pops around the corner and there's Chucky. He's like, oh, surprise. Oh, so
surprise. It's kind of his shining moment, right? Or is it before that?
His shining moment, yes. It is it is before the shining.
Before that, but it is kind of similar. It kind of gives you that.
I mean, it's a shining moment to me, but it's before the shining moment.
Right, where he's actually like stabbing through the door with the knife. It's very obvious homage to the shining.
Yeah. And then my other favorite scene I already talked about, where he's like, running down the street after Eddie. Wait. Anyway, there are a lot of like.
Oh, just because of the emotion,
the humanistic qualities, yeah. But I do.
But is that just you admiring his acting ability?
I'm really admiring Brad Dourif's acting ability.
Yeah.
But just as far as like things that like made me laugh, I mean, I guess, does that count as favorite?
Yeah, it's whatever you enjoy. If it's something that made you laugh or something that scared you, and a lot of times I think it's like those funny little moments.
You need those moments of like levity to like take some of the stress off of seeing something so terrifying.
Yeah.
But when Eddie Caputo is seen in his like little dingy, derelict, dilapidated house.
Eddie Caputo scene.
Yeah, and he's going from room to room with his loaded gun. Really, like, he opens up that door. Why does he shoot? There's nothing there.
Because, like I said in the synopsis, he's a shoot first, ask questions later type of guy.
Blows up into oblivion.
And an unrealistic explosion. It's like the whole house was rigged up Vegas style, and they just.
Well, they said in the commentary that this was a house they were going. It was like set for like demolition.
Yeah, so they just went all out with the explosion.
And
they kind of went all out with the car chase too. It was kind of like a little longer than it needed to be.
Yeah, and it was like, how is this guy not crashing into a wall by this point? Like, step on the brake, buddy.
Well, I think maybe they had enough budget. I mean, it seems like for a studio movie, it was a lower than average budget, but they still had the budget to like do some of that cool Hollywood stuff.
Yeah. Well done. How about you? Any favorite scenes for you?
My favorite scene, actually I have two. My favorite scene is the moment when Chucky reveals himself to Karen. And the reason why that's my favorite scene is because it's so startling, and it's just that it's like shocking to the audience. Even, we watched it several times in the last few days, and every time I watch it, it's still shocking. And so mine's not a funny scene. I mean, I see that more as like terrifying.
No, that to me is the best, most terrifying scene for me too. It's crazy.
Yeah, just for horror a lot of times is about timing and is about kind of mood and like hitting that right scare at the right moment, and it's a hard thing to do.
And often they do it with the score where they just like and
they try to artificially in some horror movies. Yeah, there's that artificial prodding, and the most common trope is the jump scare. But then aside from the jump scare, there's also like the fake out jump scare, and then the fake out, and then so on and so on and so on.
Yeah,
just like little things to try to get you to jump. But this was like more and more authentic scare where you go from the little lifeless doll to all of a sudden this.
And I think they did a good job building up to that too, with the D batteries falling out, and you're like, oh, those are the batteries.
But we know as an audience at this point. But you're like feeling for you're feeling with
like
the character.
Build. Yeah, you know that he's about to reveal. So
right.
Even though we know he's real, and then we know that Charles Lee Ray is inside the body, we don't know when he's going to reveal.
Yeah.
And so you start to get that hint when the batteries fall out. She reads the box that's like hint 2 is his batteries included, and then she's like, oh, I gotta go check this battery pack. Like I wouldn't.
Little tidbit that we learned from the commentary again, that the original script was named Batteries Not Included.
Oh yeah.
But you had to change that because there's another movie called Batteries Not Included.
Yeah. I guess there was a Spielberg movie that I never saw.
Yep. One of those movies from yesteryear.
Anyway, so she goes to open up the battery, and that scene really startled me because I know the battery pack's going to be empty, but even so, when she opens it and it's empty, you almost hold your breath, and that head turns around. Hi,
I'm Chucky. Want to play?
Yes.
Yeah, so scary.
Oh, and then when she like dives face first under the couch to like lift up the corner.
You just think to yourself like,
come on, lady,
what are you doing?
Yeah, just
why are you
abandoned the apartment?
It's kind of like in Leprechaun where the dad just shoves his hand in the hole. Oh man, good stuff.
Yeah, but there are those things.
That's why we love horror movies though, because the characters always make the worst possible decision, and it's wildly entertaining
to progress the plot. So
it allows us to scream at the character. Yeah. What are you doing? Stop!
You're like, oh, I know.
Don't go up the stairs. Close the door behind you.
Yeah. Don't check the battery pack. Throw the doll in the Goodwill pile. Get out of here.
Don't prod the dead killer.
Don't prod the.
Or don't drop the gun. There's so many times where they shoot the killer or the villain or the bad guy, and then they leave the gun. You bash the killer
one time, and then you drop your weapon, and then you run off instead of bludgeoning the killer to make sure that he or she is dead.
Set the house on fire and get the hell out of there.
Yes.
Although we know that doesn't always work.
Yeah.
So my second favorite. Well, I was thinking about like. Jason or Michael Myers when they get into that sort of like supernatural sequel.
Chucky, they had to kill him like 8 times.
Yeah, Chucky.
8 times.
That's true.
Came back 8 times.
Yeah, Chucky's like the Terminator.
He was.
Yeah,
definitely
keeps coming back for more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even and that's actually that is my second favorite scene. So that's a good segue. Actually, I think it's my second favorite scene. I was gonna try to like decide if maybe it was my favorite scene, but just for the visual when Chucky's burnt to a crisp, he's been decapitated, shot,
smoking,
just gone through the ringer. He finally gets the shot through the heart, and we see the burnt, charred little doll with the skeleton, and he's kind of like slowly coming to his end. It reminded me a lot of the end of Blade Runner in a way. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe that's a stretch, but where like the replicant is dying and just kind of like quietly just kind of comes to. But actually, it's maybe more of a Terminator type of thing.
It reminded me of Terminator.
It's definitely a Terminator type of thing. But I don't know. I thought about this sort of. I thought about the replicant because that's like this. Machine with a soul that's dying, and it's very poetic.
And Chucky is
And in
Boy
some
with a
perverse
soul.
way, yeah, he's a machine.
Yeah, he's electronic. What are your thoughts on that freeze frame on Andy's face as he's peering back at the dismembered Chucky?
I mean, I think maybe I just thought like, I don't know, it's ending on the fear of this kid looking back at losing his best friend and having to go through this like shitty birthday.
What do you think he's thinking as he looks back?
Oh, he's screwed up in the head after this
He's
for
just
sure.
Thinking, I'm a mess. I always wonder. No, I just saw this movie.
His whole world crashed down on him. He was obsessed with the good guy.
Yeah, this was.
And he realized the good guy was the bad guy.
This was basically his like surrogate dad, his replacement dad, because Dad sent it down.
Dad sent it down from heaven to come play. That's a really messed up idea.
So it's like his dad died again. His dad died all over again in the most grotesque way.
Yeah.
And so he's looking back at it thinking, so I guess this is it. I'm doomed to be alone. This was my one chance, my second chance to have a friend, to have a dad. And it's been obliterated.
All right. So should we kind of quickly give some of our fun facts for this movie? Some interesting things that you learned?
Fun facts. Kevin Yeager, the lead puppeteer / creator of the doll, married Catherine Hicks, aka Karen, the mom. They met on set and they're both like, oh, who's that person? And it was just a love story in the making, and they are still married. According to the internet.
The internet, yeah.
So hopefully
that's still true.
I like it.
Seems like a nice love story.
Yeah.
The thing that I thought was really interesting was that when they had some scenes where they used a little person to dress up as Chucky and to kind of make up for the size difference between the doll and the actor.
Yeah,
Ed Gale. They who played Howard the Duck, which I thought was pretty cool. Anyways, to make up for that size difference, they built the set 30% larger than the others, the normal set, and it gives this really off-putting effect where it makes everything. I think it goes back to that idea of uncanny.
Yeah, but I feel like it made it such a smooth transition from the puppet or the robot, whatever, the puppet to Ed Gale.
Right.
In costume. It just seems so seamless. Like that scene where he goes into Andy's room in the hospital and he's walking by the bed, that's Ed Gale. And
that's his acting skills, just being really good at doing that sort of doll-like
he studied with a mime to get those staccato movements of like a puppet, like animatronics.
Yeah.
And it looked really good.
They also used Andy's little sister
as that first Chucky.
Yeah, as a Chucky, the first time we see Chucky kind of running without
Maggie.
Yeah. And you can tell it's an actual person, but it still works. Yeah. It's still creepy. All right, any others?
Oh, one more. So all of the exterior scenes were shot in Chicago, and it was like the coldest winter in 10 years or 40 years, depending on who's telling the story. And months later, they had to shoot all the interior scenes in the apartment in the Culver City soundstage in Southern California. And they had to kind of like remember what they were doing when they entered the building versus when they were coming out of the building. And thought that was cool. Yeah.
Final take on this movie. I'm so glad that I rewatched it. I mean, it was a big part of what got me into horror. And, maybe I can thank or be angry at the cousins who showed me this, as well as some other things that like scared me as a kid and gave me nightmares. But really it was almost like initiation. It definitely held up and stood the test of time. I was still afraid of Chucky. I still had really good memory of some of the sort of like key scenes. And so yeah, it's a really good movie, and I'm excited to rewatch the sequels now.
I am too, especially part 2, because that one had the scariest cover for me as a child, and
I actually really like part 2, so yeah. It's one of my favorites, I think. So what are we going to watch next time?
Next time, we're going to watch a movie that might have come out around the same time as Child's Play, and it very easily could have been one of our first horror movies, but wasn't. Yeah. I know it's one that I always saw in that horror section of Blockbuster and looked like it could have been.
So we both have always kind of known about it,
Yeah.
or maybe recognized the cover, but haven't seen it.
And maybe it's geared towards kids, but we really don't know.
We think it's geared towards kids. It seems like the movie that's in the vein of Gremlins or Critters or something
Tony
like
thought
that.
It's Critters.
I thought it was Critters.
It's not Critters. It's Ghoulies.
Ghoulies, yeah, Ghoulies. We're really excited about this.
And it's going to be our gut reaction episode. So we will watch exactly half of the movie, stop it, and then discuss our predictions, our gut feelings of what's going to happen. And then we'll watch the rest of the movie and then come back with our gut reactions, whose predictions were right or wrong. And all of this will be in the same episode.
Nice. And yeah, it'll be really fun because for those who have seen Ghoulies to kind of watch us maybe get it way
Completely
wrong or trying to see, or maybe it's the type of movie where they just kind of lay it all out there and there's really not much to predict. We really don't know, but we're excited to find out.
Yeah.
Yes.
We know
the cover of the movie, there's a toilet with a turd-like ghoul and
with a crop top.
With a crop top,
Pretty
yes.
Cute.
And if you follow us on social media, we actually posted a little something,
teaser,
little teaser
photo.
Yes. And speaking of which,
where can they find us?
Yes. So we are on Twitter at Gutted Horror Podcast. We are on Instagram at Gutted Horror Podcast. And we are on YouTube at Gutted Horror Podcast.
Well, thank you, everyone, for listening and watching.
Yes, this has been Child's Play, and it's been really fun.
On an episode of